This is the Pigskin preview presented by Prize Picks. I'm Nick Roush, joined by Adam Luckett, your favorite football guys from Kentucky Sports Radio. You can hear us on 11 Personnel, the KSR Football Podcast. And the goal is each Thursday to go live and share our locks of the week. Like most things this week in week one, we're off to a bit of a rocky start. But that don't matter. What matters is that we got the right picks for you to play this weekend where we're all cashing in on 5 days of glorious college football.
Yeah, one of the best weekends of the year. Excited to get back in the ATS game. We had a lot of fun with this last year, and we're going to use this, Nick, as we're going to give our best bets, but we'll talk about kind of just the weekend at large from a gambling prism. Just kind of, be real degenerates here. And I'm sure you'll have, when Breeders' Cup comes around, you'll have some picks to share in here, and then President's Cup comes around in September. I'll have some picks to share in here. So just really, really degenerate this out and have some fun this year.
And that's what I like about this. Like you said, we get to talk about all of the big games of the weekend. Tonight, there aren't a ton, but I already locked in Dion and Coach Prime covering the 9.5-point spread. I don't know all of the details for it all, but North Dakota State's had a lot of turnover, not only from the players moving up to higher ranks, but also from the coaching ranks as well. I'm kind of with you on being bearish on Colorado throughout the entire season, but in the immediate future, 9.5, they can win by 10 pretty easily. I think in my mind, they'll be juiced up, and maybe you'll see it later in our prize picks show up. But outside of what's your favorite game of this weekend? You might not be playing it, but do you have a favorite game to watch this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's Florida, Miami.
Yeah.
We're going to get to see the end of that in the press box at Kroger Field. It's the anxiety bowl, right? We're getting a fan meltdown one way or the other in this game, and then we're getting some ridiculous takes one way or the other in this game. And so I'm excited to see that one. And like Mario Cristobal and Billy Napier, Nick, they've had some what the hell are you doing moments from a game management standpoint. Both of these coaches have had in the past. I think I trust Napier more to manage a game, especially with the new clock rules to manage that. But like the helter skelter or the chaos meter is high in this one. Like we can see some crazy things break out in this one. So I'm very excited, and it's probably going to be 150 degrees there in the swamp. The nervous meter in that stadium, I would imagine, is going to be the pucker rating is probably going to be high if that's a close game late for Florida. If they're down late, the Boo Bird meter is high. So just excited about, that thing could go either way in the four outcomes: blowout each way or close win each way.
Yeah.
There's going to be upset people regardless. That's a fun, great, outstanding game, I think, to plug in that 3:30 window and to kind of consume there to start the year.
I lean Florida, but not enough to get there and actually make a wager on it because, part of why we do this, it's for entertainment, it's for fun, and I'm going to have fun watching regardless, and I'm going to be pointing and laughing at whoever it is regardless. So there wasn't enough there for me to say, okay, I trust Graham Mertz to do this, but I do think that Graham Mertz is undervalued as a passer. Changing up the coordinator, our boy Armstrong's not going to be calling the defenses. I think that's going to matter. Trey Wilson's good. Montel Johnson's been there before. On paper, Miami has some big guns, but it's the first time coming together. And, relying on Miami to win an environment like that, I can't do it. So if you had to make me pick, if I was in a pick'em league, I would lean towards the Gators. But I'm with you. That's one of my favorite games of the weekend. I've got some big games on my slate where I kind of just like them because when you look around, there's a lot of FBS versus FCS. 59 games between FBS and FCS opponents. Not all of those are obviously created equally. But, it's not as fun to lay big numbers. So I'm going to be laying some smaller numbers with my picks. Your total seeking. But first, do want to tell you about our friends at Prize Picks, proud sponsors of Pigskin Preview. And if you haven't played Prize Picks before, they've been partnered with us previously. It's the best daily fantasy sports app out there. It's really convenient. You just download the app, and they have squares with players from sports in all walks of life, right? Like you can have the NFL, which is coming up next week. They're involved. MLB, NBA when it's happening. They've got all the sports involved. But for college football weekend, you can do it big. You can find the players. They have their numbers, whether it's passing yards, receiving yards, and then you just hit more or less. And I put together a little card for us this weekend, Luckett. And the thing that's nice is sometimes Prize Picks, they'll kind of throw you a bone where in one of these squares, kind of just giving it to you. Jalen Milroe's a free square, just got to go over a half a passing yard. I'm pairing that up with Will Shepard, over 61.5 receiving yards. He was awesome at Vandy. He's got a good quarterback in Shadur Sanders. That only takes 2 big plays in that game tonight to really get there. So I'm going to go with more for Will Shepard receiving yards. And then Kyron Drones, the Virginia Tech quarterback, passing, rushing, receiving touchdowns, more than 2.5. Virginia Tech, I think they'll be pretty good this year. And they're going up against a Vanderbilt football team that is, well, they're on their last limb. So give me Kyron Drones to score 3 touchdowns, probably 1 rushing and 2 passing is my prediction. To help get us home. One of those $20, if that's your unit of choice, that'll get you 100 if you're playing Prize Picks. So don't waste any time. Go ahead and download the Prize Picks app today. And here's the other thing too. When you're a KSR listener, you can use the code KSR to receive a guaranteed $50 once you play $5 in lineups. So download Prize Picks or go to the website and use code KSR. Receive a guaranteed $50 once you play in lineups. With our friends at Prize Picks. Luckett, it's time for me.
And I think we just lost Nick there. So we'll start it off. I mean, this is how our week's going. Anyone that listened to the radio show today, you know, we got the Static King, and I think the Static King, there's a Night King in Game of Thrones. The Static King got the radio show, and I think the Static King just bumped Nick Roush off here. I think he was big on Kyron Drones here for Virginia Tech. Going the over, I believe he said rushing yards, touchdowns. Not sure exactly what that bet was. But we're going to visit that here shortly. But right now, I guess I'll get us started here. Again, we're going to give out our 3 best bets, 3 for Nick, 3 for me. And we're going to do this every week. But I'm starting in that Kyron Drones game. Again, Nick's picks where you get the free square with Jalen Milroe, more than half a pass yard. And then he's adding 2 more squares here. Kyron Jones, more than 2.5 passing, rushing, receiving touchdowns. And then Will Shepard, more than 61.5 receiving yards. Again, Colorado plays tonight. And then Kyron Jones, Saturday at noon. He's got the nooner at Vanderbilt. More 2.5 passing, rushing, receiving touchdowns. And then Will Shepard, more than 61.5 receiving yards. But for me, my first pick, I'm sticking with that Vanderbilt Virginia Tech matchup. I'm actually kind of fading against Roush here. I am going to take the under in this ball game. Under 48.5 in Virginia Tech Vanderbilt. My reasoning for this here, I'm going to be playing a lot of unders, so when you go to KSR Plus tomorrow and you read Luckett's Locks for my 6 best bets for week 1, you're going to see a fair amount of unders on there. This is an effort to take advantage of what I think is going to be slower pace of play with the helmet comm, plus the clock rules that's moving the game faster. So I'm going to try to take advantage of this early. Under 48.5 here, Virginia Tech and Vanderbilt. I think this can be a limited possession game. Both of these teams want to play the same way, kind of spread options offense. They want to have a high run rate percentage. I think both of these offenses are going to run the ball. But if you kind of dig into this matchup, the defense is kind of the strong point for each team. So I think we see a potential low-scoring, low-possession game here. Under 48.5. I think Virginia Tech wins, but a 28-14 gets us home here. So I like the under here, under 48.5 in the West End. So give me Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech, under 48.5. We're just going to see if Nick can get back on here to give his first pick. But that's what I like on this one, just because, again, I wonder if Virginia Tech's getting a little inflated here. They were a 7-6 football team last year. And they're got ACC dark horse vibes. A lot of people believe in them heading into this year. And so I'm fading against this. Clark Lee's taking over the defense at Vanderbilt. And I think you could see a little bit of a salty Vandy defense early. Big game for Vandy. I like the under here, under 48.5. And we'll go ahead. And he's having some computer issues. I mean, it is what it is. Might have to get on here with the old iPhone. Not sure what will happen, but we'll go ahead and give out some of his picks as well. And then when he jumps in here, we can kind of go back and forth. But Nick, another new, he's in the noon window with me. So you'll have Virginia Tech Vanderbilt under 48.5. And again, KSR Plus will have Luckett's Locks every Friday. It should be published around lunchtime. Join right now. We got a 50% off sale running. Promo code Kickoff24 if you want to take advantage of that. So go ahead and join us. And we'll have those Luckett Locks up every week for my best bets. But Nick's starting off in that noon window as well. Georgia, minus 13.5, so 13 in the hook. You get under that key number, 14. Minus 13.5 in Atlanta, in Mercedes-Benz against Clemson. Nick's going to lay the points with the dogs here. I think this game, kind of sneakily, I think it could be kind of low scoring in a limited possession game. But Clemson does want to play tempo and does want to hit that gas pedal, so that's interesting to see how they handle that helmet comm with that. Does that allow them to speed up or slow down? But it's probably going to be hard for Phil Moffitt in that Clemson running game to get rolling. It makes them one-dimensional. That Clemson passing game had a long way to go based on the last time we saw them. Georgia's got Carson Beck. They're going to score some points, so Nick's going to lay the points with the dogs. 2 years ago, they were in the same situation. They absolutely boat race Oregon in this spot. So Nick's going to lay the points here. I would lean to that Georgia side. I think I might like the under the best here. I think it's right around 49. But Georgia minus 13.5, I don't think that's a bad play for Mr. Roush. Shifting over to my second bet, those who have been following along to Luckett's Locks for the last few years or even listened to Pigskin preview last year know about our Eastern Michigan road dog principle. And we're getting in at week 1. Eastern Michigan catching 2.5 points, heading up to Amherst to face UMass. And this one, it's a system play for us. Eastern Michigan, since 2016, is 28-9 against the spread as a road underdog. UMass feels like a team that should never be laying points, so we're getting a short price here on Eastern Michigan. They are a great road dog, and another trend that is favoring us this year. You are in this matchup. UMass is 0-5 against the spread in the Minutemen's last 5 as a home favorite. They have not cashed a ticket as a home favorite since 2018. 2018 was a long time ago. So give us Eastern Michigan Eagles. E-tough, catching 2.5 points on the road. So Eastern Michigan plus 2.5 is my second best bet of the weekend. Nick, welcome back. Welcome back to the Thunderdome. Welcome back to the Static Zone. I was just telling our listeners, Game of Thrones had the Night King. We've got the Static King today here at KSR. We got it on the radio show. We got it here. I kind of explain what I think you're thinking was if that Georgia play, and I gave out my best 2 bets. So welcome back to the show.
Okay. Well, I got a horse behind me because I'm in my kids' room. It got so hot in my office that my computer melted down, and it said I didn't have a camera. We're just whatever can go wrong will go wrong. It's all gone wrong this week, but we're gonna figure it out. Yeah, basically, I just think Georgia, the game, the strengths are Georgia offense versus Clemson defense. Georgia's offense is so much better than Clemson's defense in my mind. And they started slow last year because it was Beck's first games as a starter, and it was Bobo's first time back calling plays. I don't think there's gonna be a slow start this year. So you're giving me a chance to give him 2 touchdowns. I'll take that all day in a bag of chips. I'm a little more hesitant on this one. I feel like Vegas is daring me, Luckett, to take West Virginia catching 8.5 at home. Like it's just like it's kind of a fishy number. But first off, that stadium, that's not an easy place to play. It's one of the, and this is going back to that sort of regional rivalry. West Virginia's scheduled like crazy people in recent years. Now they're going up against Penn State, who, for me, this is as much of a bet against Penn State starting on all cylinders hot as it is for West Virginia because James Franklin's got 3 new coordinators, offensive, defensive, and special teams. You mean to think they're going to go into West Virginia and just be clicking just like that? I think long term they'll be fine and they'll probably win this game. But give me Garrett Green being a madman and coming out here and keeping things close against Penn State. West Virginia plus 8.5 is my second pick.
Yeah, that line was a little rich for my blood because I kind of like Penn State in this game, but I think it's a little rich for this reason. Penn State has covered 7 straight as a road favorite. Like, this is a spot to back James Franklin, so I'm a little leery of that. I think Antti Koltanecki is probably going to be an upgrade. I think you probably see their run game get rolling. To me, like, this one might be a sneaky overplay because I think you might see West Virginia be able to hit some chunk plays, but I think Penn State's going to be better on offense. So that one's a sneaky overplay. But Penn State, they've been really good in this spot.
Yeah, and it just Vegas was just daring me. They were like, "Oh, you don't want to bet FBS versus FCS? Well, here's a nice little number that gets you."
If it was a touchdown, Penn State would be on my card. Touchdown 6.5, it was going to be on the card. But it was just that's a little too. You get in the funny zone, in the funny gray area there. I think when you get in that 8.5, 9.
I just can't believe you aren't all in on the Diego Pavia experience at Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia versus Kyron Jones.
Who says I'm not? Who says I'm not? Under doesn't mean bad things.
Oh, it doesn't? I guess you do like Iowa football. So,
listen, both of these teams, like I said, leaving the camp, fall camp, each place, the defense was ahead of the offense, if you kind of dig in. And both of these teams want to run the ball. 2 defensive head coaches here. Clark Lee's taking over play calling defensively. It's a motivated spot, I think, for Vanderbilt to come out and play well. I think, again, I am going to try to take advantage of these clock rules and what I think is going to happen with this helmet comm. I think teams are going to play slower. So I think 2 teams that want to run the football, that want to lean run heavy, 2 defenses that are probably a little bit ahead of the offenses in both of these games that are probably strengths of the team, and 2 offenses, again, that want to run the football, 2 defensive head coaches. That screams under to me. So I'm taking it here.
Well, take it away. Do you got any more unders for us, Mr. Luckett?
Yeah, another one here. We're going to go to Atlanta. The Battle of Atlanta here, Nick. Georgia State making the trip to Georgia Tech under 55.5. Again, Nick, I got some trivia for you. Do you know who Georgia State's new offensive coordinator has a tie to Georgia? You need a name you're familiar with. Do you know who it is?
Tie to Georgia. Is it the guy who was the QC last year? He was quality control last year, right? Is it Bear? No, I don't know. Hit me. Who is it?
It is You remember Jim Chaney?
Yeah, I remember Jim Chaney. That's a fun blast from the past.
Jim Chaney's the offensive coordinator. Del McGee, Georgia assistant, comes over, brings Jim Chaney with him. Now, Georgia State, what you need to know is they lost pretty much all their roster, so they're breaking in a ton of new pieces. But the interesting dynamic to me in this game is Kevin Scherer is Georgia State's defensive coordinator. He was on Georgia Tech staff with Brick Key for like 3 or 4 years, or a couple years. He took over, I think, the defensive coordinator role after they made a firing in season. So he's familiar with this Georgia Tech operation. Obviously, Buster Faulkner comes from Georgia. There's a lot of overlap there. How Georgia Tech wants to play. Run heavy, right? They're not mix in tempo, but not a tempo offense. I don't think they're going to want to run up the score here on Georgia State. 55.5 is a big total. I think Georgia State could have some issues scoring the football, but I think Georgia Tech will get into sit on it mode here in the second half. So I like this under here, again, taking advantage of what I think will be a clock that runs rapidly in the second half. So give me under 55.5 here. Georgia Tech, Georgia State, a 42-7 gets us home here, Nick. So give me the under. Georgia Tech, Georgia State, under 55.5.
Luckett's rambling wreck. Just riding unders all year long with run the damn ball. Run the ball. We're just going to keep on running it. Grind out that clock with old Haynes King at quarterback. My final selection of the weekend. Love this play. Big fan of this team. I'm not the biggest fan of the exact number, but I'm taking LSU minus 4.5 against USC. And a lot of it comes down to my belief that Blake Baker is better than not only is he better, but like I refuse to believe that it was a talent deficiency there at LSU. Some people will say, well, look at all the guys that USC brought in the defense to really upgrade. And it's like, yeah, I think they had a talent deficiency. I mean, there's pros playing for LSU. I know they had to find some interior defensive line and whatnot, but like, you mean to tell me that Harold Perkins ain't gonna make some plays for Blake Baker? They might be a little overly aggressive, but I think that does just enough for them. I trust Brian Kelly more in this spot, even though this spot hasn't been good to him. Luckett, he's lost twice in these high-profile season openers. Fool me once, fool me twice. I don't think he's going to be fooled thrice. That's my overall takeaway. I trust him. I trust his offense. I think Nussmeier, he's the son of a quarterback's coach, the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback's coach. He's been in the system for a long time. He's waited.
He's an NFL guy eventually. Like Nussmeier is.
Yeah. So like I trust them a lot more than I trust USC. Some people are really bullish on them, but I think this is just going to be not a rude awakening, but a hard start for what is a difficult schedule. Where in week 3 they go to Michigan, and then in week 4 they host Wisconsin. Like there's a chance USC could start 1-3 in their first season in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I think you look LSU two's got probably the trench battle. They've got 2 first-round tackles there. Will Campbell, Emory Jones, I believe that's the other name. Defense should be improved. Defensive line has struggled here lately, but it should be improved. I agree kind of with Nick Saban there. Like, people worried about LSU receivers. I don't know why. They go shake a tree in Louisiana and find a good receiver. So I think they got guys in the wings. They'll figure it out on offense. To me, this is a total bet on Miller Moss, to me. If you have a hunch at all that Miller Moss is a dude, take USC money line. But if you don't, I think you take LSU. USC wins this game if Miller Moss is awesome, to me. Like, that is to me, the exciting part about this game, what was the bowl game against Louisville? Was that just Miller Moss just eating up a Louisville defense that was maybe a little checked out, or was that him a real deal? Because Louisville plays kind of the same way LSU will want to play with Baker, where bring pressure, twist, stunts, but play man in the back end. And that's how LSU is going to play with Baker. And USC has got dudes at receiver. So, like, to me, it's a Miller Moss. If you think Miller Moss is a real deal, I think USC wins this game. If you don't, if he's just maybe just a guy, then LSU wins it covers. Like, to me, that's what this game comes down to.
I don't mean to cast aspersions against one of our own, but, I mean, we saw what Devin Leary did that Louisville defense, right? The game before that. I think Louisville's defense got a lot more credit than what they probably deserve, playing a bunch of average competition.
Well, I think Louisville, they caught some
bad quarterbacks.
They didn't have to play. They didn't have to play Riley Leonard. Virginia actually played their good quarterback and had almost stole that game. right? Haynes King
Drones
had a
was
good game against them.
just getting
So I think when
going. He
they,
played pretty well against them.
outside of really Sam Hartman off the top of my head, like, and he's just like, I don't know what that is. They've got some juju
juju.
there,
Yeah.
or had with him.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, they got, like, the NC State game win was a big win for them, right? Like, NC State's quarterback situation was a mess at that point in the year, and they did. You're right. They did beef up, I think, on some bad quarterback play. Now they beat Virginia. They housed Virginia Tech when they started to get rolling, but maybe that was a sign that Louisville, maybe that was, and it might be right, or it might be the
Oh
other
no,
way.
my
You don't
boss
know.
is a dude, and I'm gonna look stupid, and Brian Kelly's gonna have to do some splaining for the third straight year in the season
You're gonna
opener.
know early. Like, to me, that might be a game, Nick. Wait till midway through the first quarter. See what
Yeah,
Moss
but
looks like a possession and a
then you
half
might
in.
not get a number though.
Or you
You
might
might
get a
get a
better
bad
number if
number.
LSU doesn't score early.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a gamble, but this is gambling.
Heck yeah, it's definitely gambling. How far along was I talking about prospects when my computer decided to combust?
We got to the Kyron Jones part, and you were giving your Kyron Jones reasoning, but that's when the Static King rode in, took you out.
Oh gosh, the static's invading. But what you do need to know with prospects though is that if you use promo code KSR when you download the app or visit them online, play $5, get a guaranteed $50 in your account. So prospects, promo code KSR, download that app, use it, $5 and play. We get you $50 on prospects. Make sure you're playing all season long. And we apologize. This has really been Luckett. It's one just seamlessly technical difficulty after another. But it's week one for everybody. We're getting all of our bad shots out so we get our good ones up. So we'll be back next week, better than ever, live, ready to rip and roar and give you week two is the week to make the most money, and I'm confident we're going to do that.
Yeah, week two is always you improve the most from week one to week two. That's always seems like a good time to strike is week two. Week one, you're just trying to figure some things out, and so we're testing some principles here and some system plays, and we're going to see how it lines up.
We are figuring it out. Thanks to our friends at Prize Picks. For Adam Luckett, I'm Nick Roush. This has been an edition of Pigskin Preview.